Landmark Ford.
Discover how beautiful pure makeup can be. Clarion Ultra Pure Makeup. Makeup that's not only pure so it's good for your skin, it's personalized. The Clarion computer helps you choose the foundation just right for you. So you get flawless coverage, sheer color, in a makeup so pure even women with sensitive skin can wear it. So beautiful, every woman will want to. Clarion Ultra Pure Makeup.
If you want farm fresh produce and big savings, you've got to think big.
I'm Gary Hill.
And I'm Kim Singer. In the news tonight, Oregon's governor returns from his trade mission to the Far East, calling it a success.
3 Americans are killed in sniper attacks near a U.S. Air Force base in the Philippines.
There's a big mystery in Washougal, Washington. The mayor resigned and then disappeared.
And the mother of a 12-year-old girl killed in Gresham talks about her daughter's death. The 10 o'clock news is next.
Good evening, everybody. Oregon Governor Neil Goldschmidt returned tonight from a 12-day trade mission to South Korea and Taiwan. Goldschmidt was upbeat as he arrived at Portland International Airport. He says overseas investors are going to take a hard look at Oregon. Some of the people who went with the governor returned with signed contracts.
Well, we think there's probably somewhere between $1.5 million and $2.5 million in sales that our folks have made that they're willing to talk about, and we know of others that they can't talk about because they aren't officially signed. I think the most important thing we learned is that without regard to the size of the business, that is, we had some companies that were pretty large and others that were just small family businesses, that the people who hustled and worked had products folks wanted to buy and they sold them.
Goldschmidt says it's up to Oregon business owners to return to eastern markets and push their products.
Senate Republicans strongly recommended today that state senator, Bill Olson, consider resigning his post. Olson recently pleaded guilty to a child sex abuse charge. The caucus stopped short of asking him to resign. Members said they'll give him some time to make that decision for himself. Trish Nyworth has more on our story.
Let me check in first if it's okay. You know I'll be right back down here.
The political future of this man, State Senator Bill Olson, was the focus of the Republican caucus meeting today. The Medford senator earlier this month pleaded guilty to second-degree sexual abuse in connection with an incident with a 13-year-old girl. Despite that, he has not decided to step down from office or whether he'll seek re-election.
I want to keep all the vows I've made, personally to my family and to my community and to the state. And so I will stay in office so long as the people want me there.
Political observers predicted the reason for the caucus meeting today was to recommend the Southern Oregon senator resign. But before going into the meeting, Olson said he expected just the contrary.
I expect support.
When the lengthy meeting broke up, it was clear that support wasn't there from his fellow Republicans.
I think that it's a true statement to say that every member of the caucus expressed a recommendation that he consider resigning.
The caucus didn't outright ask him to step down. They have no statutory authority to do so. But Olson had asked them for more time to make a decision.
As a personal courtesy that he asked of the other caucus members was that he asked for additional time in rendering a decision, that he would inform us of that later. And I think, out of due respect for his wishes, that we should honor that, too.
Olson is expected to let members know his political plans before their next meeting in December. In the meantime, a recall effort has begun to oust him from office. In Salem, Trish Nyworth, the 10 o'clock news.
In Washougal, Washington tonight, everybody's talking about Mayor Bill Bright. Actually, better make that former Mayor Bill Bright. Bright abruptly resigned on Monday, filled his car with gasoline, and then vanished. Florence Jonick with that story.
Where in the world is Bill Bright? That's what Washougalites are asking themselves tonight. 2 days ago, Bright gave his estranged wife the keys to their AM/PM mini-mart handed her a letter resigning as mayor of Washougal, filled his tank with gas, and disappeared. The letter, addressed to City Attorney Ed Poyfair, said simply, "Please take care of the proper paperwork needed for my resignation, and God bless you always."
He just probably under a lot of pressure.
What?
Probably, I don't know.
Colleagues at City Hall are baffled by Bright's disappearance. They say he had every reason to feel good about the job he was doing as mayor. Bright had just engineered what many considered his crowning achievement, an agreement with the Port of Camas-Washougal to ensure that no manufacturer of hazardous materials can ever locate in Washougal. It was prompted by Union Carbide's now defunct plan to build a poisonous gas factory in the town.
Some of the legislation he was proposing is being looked at favorably now, so he should have every reason, as far as the city is concerned, to be pretty happy.
We had no indication that he was unhappy with anything at City Hall, so it must have been personal or business related.
Sonneson will serve as acting mayor until the city council appoints someone to fill out the 2 years left in Bright's term. 3 of the 6 remaining council members are reportedly interested in the job. In Washougal, Florence Jonick, the 10 o'clock news.
In Olympia, Washington today, residents decided to do something about the drought. They held a rain dance. Under cloudless skies, 200 Olympians donned rain gear and carried umbrellas to the city square. This all happened during lunch hour. For almost 5 months, Olympia has had less than 2 inches of rain. 8 inches of rainfall is normal. Well, in less than 24 hours, the city of Portland reached the water conservation goals announced at City Hall just yesterday. City Commissioner Bob Koch asked residents to voluntarily stop watering their lawns and to stop washing their cars. And by 8 o'clock this morning, daily water consumption measurements in the city had been cut by 14 million gallons, exactly what Koch called for. Without conservation, city officials expect to run into water quality problems by January 1st. Oregon's long dry spell is blamed for the water shortage.
The state fire marshal has lifted a ban on outdoor burning in eastern Oregon. Marshal Olin Green says lower temperatures and calmer winds have decreased the fire danger in central and eastern Oregon, but the ban is still in effect west of the Cascades. The possibility of ending the week-old closure of western Oregon forests is dwindling, in fact, because of the lack of predicted rain for this weekend. An Oregon Department of Forestry spokesman says 10 million acres of state-protected forests will remain closed. Only those with special permits will be allowed to enter. A North Portland mother says she and her children became ill after moving into an apartment that had been used by illegal drug makers. In the past year, about 30 Portland homes and motel rooms have been raided because of methamphetamine labs operating in them. And city building inspectors say the former lab sites are not safe to live in. Investigative reporter Lars Larson has more on that.
Portland police wear environment suits with self-contained air supplies when they investigate drug labs these days. The chemicals inside are dangerous and, in some cases, cancer-causing and deadly. 4-year-old Leanne Brudana and her mother live in an apartment that housed an illegal methamphetamine lab about a month and a half ago. The landlord showed her the apartment a few days after the police seized the lab.
As soon as he opened the door to this apartment, it wasn't really in the building that I noticed, but when he opened the door, I mean, that's when I could really smell, I mean, that it was something in here. He told me it was disinfect. I mean, you know, like household cleanser and stuff like that.
Police found a laboratory like this one. According to a Department of Environmental Quality report, they found more than 13 pounds of highly toxic lead acetate, gallons of unknown chemicals, poisons, muriatic acid, and chloroform. The apartment smell got to Lena Brudana.
Yeah, and I had got sick and nauseated.
Brudana says she missed 2 days of work, and she says her 6-year-old, LaToya, missed a week of school because she was sick from the fumes. The owner, Gustav Martin, told the 10 o'clock news that other tenants had told him about the police raid the day after it happened. Martin refused to be interviewed on camera. He also refused to say how he cleaned the apartment, nor whether he warned his new tenant of the former tenant's activities.
Did the landlord tell you that there had been a methamphetamine lab here before you moved in?
No.
Lena Brudana says the fumes are still strong a month after she moved in, especially strong in the kitchen.
I mean, I haven't put my food away because of the fumes still being in the cabinet. I smell the same fumes in the cabinet that I smelled worse in here when I first moved in.
A letter from the city warning that the apartment could still be contaminated with chemicals never arrived because the city doesn't have the new owner's correct address. Meantime, Brudana and her 2 daughters plan to move to a larger but less expensive apartment. In Portland, Lars Larson, the 10 o'clock news.
If you've always felt that driving a car should be more than simply a way of getting from one place to another, we have a suggestion we'd like to run by you.
Your Metro Portland Porsche Connection invites you to test drive the 944 series.
There's one butter that makes all the taste difference in the world. Mother's Choice. For that sweet cream sensation, it's Mother's Choice butter, made at Larson's Creamery in Oregon City for over 60 years. Mother's Choice butter is a favorite because of its flavor, freshness, and smooth texture. For mothers who take pride in their cooking and have family health at heart, Mother's Choice butter is the only choice. For fine, fresh creamery butter, make the smart choice. Mother's Choice butter, available at your local grocery store.
The best entertainment running. Portland Meadows features the best in horse racing action happening Fridays at 7 and Saturdays and Sundays at 1:30. Enjoy fine dining while you sit in the warm comfort of the glass-enclosed grandstand. Portland Meadows, I-5 at Delta Park.
Is TV Guide a magazine?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the thing you get in the Sunday paper this section, the TV section, a magazine?
It's not a magazine.
The best thing on television.
3 Americans died today in sniper attacks near a U.S. Air Force base in the Philippines. 4 separate attacks and a Filipino. Communist rebels are believed responsible. The violence took place near Clark Air Force Base just north of Manila. And the State Department says it is stepping up security precautions in the wake of those attacks. Manila, of course, being the capital of the Philippines.
There were 4 separate shooting incidents today in the vicinity of Clark Air Base, resulting in the deaths of 3 Americans and 1 Filipino. 2 of the Americans killed were active duty U.S. servicemen. All of the incidents occurred in the late afternoon of October 28th. There is no information about who carried out the attacks. We are working with the government of the Philippines to provide additional security for Americans living in areas adjacent to Clark Air Base.
An Air Force captain from Albany, Oregon was a lucky man today. He was hit by a sniper's bullet during those attacks, but he survived thanks to a wallet in his vest pocket. Captain Raymond L. Pulsifer, that is, the second of Albany, called home tonight to tell his family that he is just fine. He was driving a car when he was stopped by gunmen. They fired a bullet at him, but it was stopped by a heavy wallet in his pocket.
Now that it looks like there will be a summit meeting between the United States and the Soviet Union, President Reagan is taking some heat here at home. Conservatives think the president may be giving up too much in agreeing to ban all intermediate-range nuclear missiles. Well, the president had an answer for those concerns today as he addressed cadets at West Point. Charles Bierbauer was there.
The Reagan-Gorbachev summit seems online again, but in a speech to the Corps of Cadets at West Point, President Reagan was mindful of last week's surprise when Gorbachev, after heated discussion, refused to commit to a summit date.
It would be good for Mr. Gorbachev to see this country for himself. I'm ready to continue and intensify our negotiations, but a summit is not a precondition for progress on the agenda at hand.
Gorbachev apparently had second thoughts when the U.S. rejected a Soviet demand to restrict the Star Wars space defense as a condition for reducing strategic nuclear missiles.
The Soviets must, however, stop holding strategic offensive reductions hostage to measures that would cripple our SDI.
The commander-in-chief reviewed his troops, the long gray line, at the U.S. Military Academy. He also told the cadets they would assume their future posts as troop commanders at a time when the U.S. and Soviet Union are destroying medium-range missiles under the INF agreement Reagan and Gorbachev expect to sign. General Bernard Rogers, a former West Point commandant and commander of NATO, argues it's a treaty that should have the Soviets breaking out the vodka in celebration.
We're giving up the one missile system that the Soviets feared most, namely the Pershing II, which, as I said, coupled with the strategic nuclear forces, kept the credibility very high in their mind.
But the president had a rejoinder.
Now, some have argued that when the INF missiles have been removed, our commitment to Europe will have been weakened. Yet this is simply untrue.
An INF treaty has mostly political import, but a 50% cut in intercontinental weapons would have real strategic significance. U.S. officials say the Soviets should now understand that progress on strategic reduction is possible, but understand as well that President Reagan will not be bullied into tying it to cuts in SDI. Charles Beerbaer, CNN, with the president at West Point.
The U.S. government waited for the stock market to close today before releasing its report on the budget deficit for fiscal 1987. For the first time ever, the government spent more than $1 trillion. But revenues also rose, so the deficit for fiscal 87 was about one-third lower than last year, which was a record high. In Washington, negotiators for the White House and Congress met for the second day of budget talks. They're trying to arrive at a tax and spending plan that will cut the federal deficit. Sources say the White House is pressing for restraints in domestic spending, perhaps a freeze. Washington Senator Dan Evans thinks that's a good idea.
I hope we will be bolder than some have so far suggested. The president said that everything was on the table except Social Security. Mr. President, I think everything must be on the table. Everything. It's time we had the courage to put together a package that probably should start with a freeze.
President Reagan agreed to the economic summit after last week's stock market crash.
And on Wall Street, the stock market closed up just a fraction of a point today after sharp up and down swings. The volatility in the market was caused by a drop in the U.S. dollar. It dropped dramatically in European trading, hitting a 7-year low against the West German mark and a 5-year low against the British pound. In Tokyo, where they're a day ahead of us time-wise, Thursday trading has already begun, and the Tokyo Stock Exchange is taking a beating. The key Nikkei, or Nikkei that is, index is down nearly 309 points after dropping 115 points in the first 5 minutes. The index lost 257 points during Wednesday's trading session. That's about 1%. Investors there are worried about the falling U.S. dollar as well, which opened even lower in Tokyo in Thursday morning trading. After what many people have been through in the stock market, no one wants to hear anybody say, "I told you so." But on Wall Street, some people predicted the crash and advised investors to get out of the market. In fact, Richard Roth has that.
If you lost money in the market plunge, you may not want to hear this. Several forecasters saw it coming and tried to warn you, though nobody predicted such a big drop occurring in one day. Mason Sexton practices harmonic convergence research, an astrological science charting the movement of the planets, in this case used to chart the mood of the markets. In a CNN interview 2 months ago, he accurately forecasted what would happen.
If I had to guess when the final top would be, it would probably be the first or second week of October. Now, when I say the final top, that will precede a correction, we think, of 15 to 20% minimum in the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
I was very humbled, to be honest with you. I was very concerned, because really what I've been concerned about and worried about and saying was going to happen is now happening.
Just 1 week before the fall, on CNN's Moneyline program, leading research analyst Elaine Garzarelli said, "Get out of this market."
Well, this is the first time I've ever heard you sound remotely bearish, and you sound more than remotely.
Well, my indicators that have gotten me out of the 1929 bull market 6 months ahead of time and have gotten me out of every bear market before they begin is now flashing a 92% negative signal.
Garzarelli has a very good reputation on Wall Street, but she doesn't think her prediction had anything to do with the crash. The Wall Street Journal credits Francis Xavier Curzio with predicting a crash in his monthly newsletter.
Well, anyone who did their homework could have seen this market coming.
Will these forecasters be right about the future?
The downside pressures will be over by November 10th.
We're definitely going into recession.
The accurate predictions help the credibility of these seers. Of course, if they continue to be right about a market sell-off, they may not have too many investors left to advise. Richard Roth, CNN, New York.
found my thrill.
Hyundai salutes the practical, sensible, non-frivolous youth of America. They've had the wisdom to purchase durable, reliable automobiles with front-wheel drive, room for 5, and loads of standard features. All this at prices that start as low as $52.95. Congratulations, young people, and happy driving. Hyundai, cars that make sense.
Whenever I want to feel special, I turn out the lights and turn to candlelight. Elegant chef-created dinners from Candlelight. Chicken cordon bleu, exquisitely French, filled with smoked ham and cheese. Or beef sirloin tips, English style, in a regal red wine sauce. Whenever you want to feel special, turn out the lights and turn to Candlelight from Weight Watchers. And now there are 3 new Candlelight dinners like veal parmigiana in a zesty tomato sauce.
This is not your typical ghost story, and he's not your typical ghost.
What is it?
It's the Canterville Ghost. Starring Academy Award winner Sir John Gielgud, Ted Wass, Andrea Marcovici, and Alyssa Milano. He'll have you screaming with laughter.
The Canterville Ghost, Thursday night at 8 on KPTV 12.
Nabisco, the cookie company, won a sweet victory from the city of Portland today. City commissioners approved a tax abatement worth more than $2 million for the company. To earn that property tax relief, Nabisco must spend $25 million on improvements to its North Columbia Boulevard plant. The company admits some jobs will be eliminated by the improvements there if they're made. The final vote was 3-1 with City Commissioner Bob Koch, the lone dissenter. Well, some Hillsborough parents are going to try to raise $250,000 in the next 20 days to restore school bus service in their area. Bus service for about 3,000 school students was cut entirely after a tax levy failed. Well, that left Hillsborough in the state safety net, meaning its budget was no bigger than last year's budget, and district administrators said bus service had to go.
Parents were left with 2 options. They could try to get private busing for their area, or they could drive their kids to and from school. To date, private busing is an option viable for only one densely populated area.
A group of parents began Operation Bus Start. Its goal is to raise $250,000. Now, if it accomplishes that, the school board has said it will seriously consider restoring the bus service. The group figures it will cost parents an average of $50 per child. So the parents are planning car washes, barbecues, and all kinds of other fundraising events.
Funeral services will be held Saturday in Dallas, Oregon for 12-year-old Mindy Thomas. She, of course, the Gresham girl who was found murdered on the campus of Mount Hood Community College. The child's mother says Dallas was where Mindy was happiest and would have probably wanted to be buried there. More on that story now from Florence Jonick.
Shannon Garrett did today what the parents of few murder victims do. She faced a room full of reporters. Garrett, the mother of 12-year-old murder victim Mindy Thomas, says she decided to hold a news conference to thank the media and the public for their support.
I got cards in the mail from people that I'd never met that just said, "I'm so sorry," and we're praying. And everybody has just been very caring. And I just want to know that it helped. It helped a lot.
Garrett says she wasn't surprised when the state medical examiner yesterday identified the badly decomposed body as her daughter. She says she knew from the beginning Mindy had been the victim of foul play. The 12-year-old girl had been missing since August 3rd. A hiker found her body Saturday in a heavily wooded area of Mount Hood Community College. Garrett says her only regret was that a search wasn't begun earlier, but she harbors no ill will against the Gresham Police Department.
There was a real short period of time where the police said, she's probably just out with her friends. She's probably just doing her own thing for a little while and she'll come home. That was a real short period of time.
Garrett says her daughter had been well educated on how to deal with strangers, and that, she says, is the scariest part.
Maybe the thing she didn't do is make enough noise. Nobody saw anything.
In Portland, Florence Jonick, the 10 o'clock news.
The mother of a fund has been established to help the family pay for the funeral donations to the Mindy Thomas Memorial Fund. It will be accepted at any branch of U.S. National Bank. The mother of a 2-year-old girl who survived a plane crash last week says her daughter is going to be fine, but a battle may be brewing over who has custody of the child. Little Aubrey Holst was the sole survivor of the crash of a light plane near the town of Walton, a crash that killed her father's girlfriend, and Aubrey's grandmother. The little girl suffered 2 broken arms and internal injuries in the crash and spent 6 hours in the wreckage before she was rescued. But Mother Shireen Clifford says Aubrey is doing just fine.
Because she just got this body cast on, and she doesn't like being confined, but she said it does make her back feel better. And she got to sit up for the first time. I got to hold her for the first time today. That was so neat.
However, there may be legal difficulties ahead. Clifford was not married to Carson Holst, Aubrey's father, and was not living with him at the time of the crash. Holst's family, in fact, may go to court to claim custody of Aubrey, but Clifford says she's prepared for that.
I have custody of her, and it's all on record, and she's going to go home with me, and then I'll be her mom forever and ever. She's going to be there.
Right now, though, the top priority, of course, is to get Aubrey back on her feet. She's in a body cast now, but doctors don't expect any lasting physical problems because of her injuries, and Aubrey is being cheered up by all the cards and letters pouring in, wishing her a speedy recovery.
You may not be able to fight City Hall, at least they say you can't, but you can fight Pacific Northwest Bell, and if you make your protest loud enough, well, you just might win. That's what some merchants found out this week. They're the ones who organized a petition drive protesting PNB's new policy of not paying merchants who collect the telephone company's bill payments. PNB announced in August that the 30-cent collection fee would stop on November 1st. Well, some merchants threatened to stop offering the service if they weren't going to be paid, and when all the cards and letters came in, well, the phone company changed its mind.
17 petitions from customers, and that is far greater than what we ever thought we would. And of course, we've had a lot of letters to our officers and a lot of calls into our Let's Talk Bureau. And so we knew that we needed to do something as far as listening to them.
There are 90 phone company pay stations in Oregon. Many poor and elderly people use them to pay their phone bills in cash.
A protest of another sort. Local relief agencies say a plan by Congress to cut federal energy assistance to the poor will have severe effects. The plan is to cut federal funding by 1/3, and officials say in Multnomah County alone, 8,500 needy families will be denied home heating assistance this winter.
It has never been big enough. Now with a 33% reduction, I think we'll see a serious blow not only to the families that won't be getting service and have been relying on that revenue, but also to the agencies that have been providing this service.
An appropriations bill containing the cutback in the low-income energy assistance program has already won Senate approval. It will be up for a vote by the House within a couple of weeks. Opponents are asking those concerned to write your congressman.
Well, it was exciting to hear today that the city's water conservation efforts have already paid off, Portland that is, that we're out of the woods at least for the moment. But big question, Jim, any clouds up there that could have some water in them?
We still have a slight threat Friday and actually should last through the weekend for the most part, but it's not going to be any huge amounts. That's the only problem.
Maybe a sprinkle.
And then next week it's going to dry up again.
Good and bad news, I guess, there. Okay, thanks. We'll have the forecast in just a moment. Stay with us.
There's a new country radio station to take you into the 90s and beyond. A country radio station that plays today's favorites like Alabama, Randy Travis, The Judds, and George Strait. Plus music you wouldn't think you'd hear on a country music station. Jerry Jeff Walker, Dan Fogelberg, Jimmy Buffett, and Doc Watson. The tradition continues. 99.5 KWJJ-FM.
We just got this great new Express Meals oven from Sunbeam. It's a toaster broiler oven and a microwave oven all in one. The whole family's using Express Meals. Last night we had company and my wife cooked a complete chicken dinner, including dessert. The kids use it for everything from snacks and quick lunches to popcorn. Even I'm using new Express Meals. See? Hot coffee in just a minute.
New Express Meals from Sunbeam. It's all you need for great meals in less time.
At Courtesy Hyundai, value means everything. If you want economy with bottom-line prices that make sense, then Courtesy is the place with 8 new car models under $7,000. Get economical dependability in the 3-door XL, right now as low as $55.95. Or for family excitement, drive a GL 4-door sedan. Take a test drive and be eligible to win 100 lottery tickets. Courtesy Hyundai has the bottom line that saves you money. At Courtesy Hyundai.
See Exciting Lotto on Channel 12 every Saturday night only on KPTV, the official Washington State Lottery station.
Remember those falls when we actually got a little rain? And I can remember wondering what it would be like to live in a city, like, say, San Diego, where summer just seems to go on and on and on. And now we know. What do you think, huh? You want a little northwest rain, don't you? Come on, be honest. You really do. Well, just a little bit over the weekend is just kind of a glimmer of hope out there. Let's take a check on those conditions right now. Clear 51 degrees right at this moment, and pressure is at 30.01, rising just a bit tonight, 86% for the humidity. Winds just a little higher than they were last night, southeast at 7 miles per hour. Around the state, everywhere from clear to cloudy conditions from the west to the east, and a few clear spots in the central part of the state this evening. And our statistics for the state, there you can see them. We tied the record high back in 1968, and the low, the record, 26 back in 1946. There you can see the sunrise and sunset for tomorrow. High pressure remains dominant over the northwest. It's the same old song. We've been singing it all October long, and it looks like it's going to last on into November, except for maybe some brief cloudy periods over the weekend that could bring us some showers. What's happening is a long band of cloudiness extends out into the eastern Pacific. We have another frontal system approaching. We're keeping our eye on it. We hope that by Friday evening, late Friday night, it'll start bringing some thicker clouds into the area, some rain clouds, and that will give us a shot at some showers over the weekend before it probably dries up again for Monday and much of the rest of next week. Let's take a look at those high temperatures around the state today. 60s along the coastline for the most part. Up the valley, we had 70s, new record in Eugene there, 75, new record in Salem at 74. We, of course, tied the old record. Central and eastern Oregon, fairly warm today. Warmest spot, 80 at Redmond. They had a 71 in Bend today, and 60s and all kinds of 70s over here in parts of central and extreme eastern Oregon. We did have a few showers just along the California border. We'll take a look at that here in a second on the satellite picture. Let's do that right now. In fact, you can see some clouds upper level low. You can see there in northern California, spread a few clouds into southern Oregon, and radar shows a chance of some rain showers, some rain echoes down there this evening and through probably most of tonight, but no real great accumulations. Along the coastline, fog continued to sock in parts of the southern coast today. Well, we had a few more showers up here in the New England states today, fairly heavy at times, and some cloudy conditions up here in the northern plains. Otherwise, fairly sunny skies over much of the nation. We only have one here, and most of the temperatures in the 50s and 60s out east, and continued really kind of Indian summer-like out here in the west with temperatures in the 70s, some 80s up southern California coastline, and a 71 today in Boise. Here are our forecasts now. Partly sunny skies along most of the Oregon coast after some morning fog or low clouds, especially in the southern coastal areas. In the Willamette Valley, we'll have morning fog and sunny skies in the afternoon. Cascades will have mostly sunny conditions. Freezing levels up there about 12,000 feet. In the Gorge, mostly sunny. More of the same, really, for central and eastern Oregon, with sunshine and high temperatures in the 70s. And for Portland, Vancouver, we'll have fog forming overnight tonight and expect some fairly thick fog in certain areas tomorrow with some low clouds. It'll burn off. We'll have mostly sunny skies in the afternoon. Another absolutely perfect day in paradise, 69 degrees, except for the fact that it's just a dust bowl out there.
Yeah, should commuters be worried about the fog tomorrow?
In some areas, especially close to the rivers, it'll be a little thick, but I don't think anything that's going to slow you down too bad. Okay.
Thanks, James. See you in a few minutes. Still to come in the second half of the 10 o'clock news, the Senate okays the money to improve aviation safety.
We'll hear from an elderly couple who don't let age get in the way of their love of flying.
Researchers in New York announced the development of a new IUD.
And Republican presidential hopefuls square off in Houston. That story and more coming up next.
Ford is now #1 in car and truck sales, according to reports in USA Today.
Fueling Ford's rise to the top is the popular Ranger, the best-selling compact truck in America. Save over $1,200 on the Ranger XLT. Plus, get $500 cash back. See why Ranger's a better value than comparably equipped Toyota pickups. Ford Ranger, winning the Northwest over with quality.
Test drive America's top-selling trucks at your Northwest Ford dealers today.
It's the Crescent's grand opening with a 16-hour sale this Friday from 8 a.m. to midnight. Save 20 to 50% on women's sportswear, menswear, children's wear, and home furnishings. 16 hours of savings and 8 a.m. and late night specials. Our grand opening 16-hour sale this Friday at the Crescent, 8 a.m. to midnight.
Only Levitt's could put together a sale this big. Over $200 million in brand new quality furniture, coast to coast. And it's all on sale.
Everything's on sale.
Everything is on sale. There will never be a better time to buy furniture anywhere.
You'll love it.
So hurry in now. Prices this low can't last long, even at Levitt's.
I'm Bob Lanfear. Buy this new LeBaron Turbo Coupe for just $31 down at Beaverton Chrysler Plymouth. Selection and low monthly payments. You have my name on it.
32 people were hurt in Pittsburgh today when the brakes failed on an antique trolley car. The accident happened in the busy downtown area during the morning rush hour. The car jumped its tracks, sideswiped a bus, and then slammed into a building. 2 of those hurt are in critical condition tonight.
The 6 Republican presidential candidates went to Houston tonight for a nationally televised debate, the first for the GOP candidates. It was almost a 5-candidate show. Vice President George Bush finally agreed to take part after turning down 2 earlier requests. And Bush was a target tonight of candidate Pete DuPont.
George Bush heroically followed America into war, and he skillfully followed Richard Nixon into China, and he somewhat less enthusiastically followed Ronald Reagan into the modern economics of tax cuts and job creation. But the question is, in a Bush presidency, where would he lead America? So far, we haven't seen any vision, any principles, any policies. We really haven't had it spelled out very successfully.
Nutty idea to fool around with the Social Security system and run the risk of the people that have been saving all their lives. We made this Social Security Trust Fund solvent, and it's solvent. So that's not, it may be a new idea, but it's a dumb one. On the question of the INF treaty, I told you all these European leaders are for it. I'm for it. The president's for it. The Joint Chiefs are for it. And I don't see why you can't say, hey, if it's verifiable, it's a good idea to get rid of 1,600 warheads from the Soviet Union.
And so it went. In addition to DuPont and Bush, Alexander Haig, Jack Kemp, Bob Dole, and Pat Robertson all took part in tonight's debate. Well, Democrats are not satisfied with their party's presidential candidates. That is what a new poll by CBS News and the New York Times shows. About half the Democrats surveyed, that is, have not decided to support any of the 6 declared candidates, and more than 50% believe the Republicans have better presidential candidates to choose from so far. Maybe there are more in the offing out there. It's not too late.
Well, maybe not.
In sports, the Oregon Duck basketball team goes to Beaverton for a warm-up tonight.
And 2 high school powers get ready to square off this weekend. Michael O'Brien has those stories and more coming up next.
We're looking good, feeling great, having a party. Look, Mom and Dad, your most precious possessions. Give them the best. A Simmons Twin Beauty Rest mattress or Sealy Posturepedic is just $99 at Vancouver Furniture. No money down, no interest, no payments till February. Free delivery, Portland to Longview. A lot of Portland stores sell great furniture. We simply sell it for less.
Vancouver Furniture simply sells for less.
Genie is driven to perfecting the garage door opener. Introducing the Genie Genius, a garage door opener so advanced you can program it with these unique brain cells to perform many special functions, like opening the door with a code, turning on house lights by remote control, or detecting objects in the door's way. And Genie's track drive never needs lubrication or adjustment. The Genius, only Genie has it.
Courtesy Ford Cars, America's #1 sellers, blow away the competition. Escort, the #1 selling passenger car in America from $59.88. Taurus, the leader in innovative design, from $12,295. And another entry into the long line of winners, Festiva, from $52.95. Courtesy Ford beats the competition. Hard beat.
Our business is saving you money.
Courtesy Ford, #1.
If you want farm fresh produce and big savings, you've got to think big.
Little taste of Pac-10 basketball in the metro area tonight. Oregon Ducks in town.
That's right. Normally have to wait till the Far West Classic, but here it is late October. We get a little look. Oregon Ducks are beginning their basketball season with some question marks. Tonight they try to answer some in Beaverton with an intra-squad game. Once again, Anthony Taylor leads the way. He's the most exciting player the Ducks have. 31 points tonight. Last year led Oregon in scoring, was all Pac-10, and this summer he caddied for NBA star Michael Jordan. This is Taylor's last year. He wants it to be a big one.
I'd like to be top team in the Pac-10, and I like to win the Pac-10 tournament and the Far West Classic and stuff. So there's a lot of things that we want to accomplish as a team. I like to make the NCAAs and things also.
After Taylor, the Ducks are a big unknown. 7 new faces, most of those lacking experience. Oregon needs a big year from forward Keith Balderston from Wilson High. He's the leading rebounder from last year. Rick Osborne returns for his final year, too. The Ducks are counting on his shooting touch and his leadership. Hard to say right now how the Ducks will turn out.
Again, you know, Anthony's going to lead us, and kind of what he does and how he goes is probably the way we'll end up. But I think you'll see some kids that are, if they keep working and striving to improve, I think as we go along, we'll get better.
Ducks open up their season in about a month. Well, Michael Jordan's back with the Chicago Bulls tonight. He stormed out of practice yesterday, claiming that head coach Doug Collins failed to keep an accurate score of an intra-squad scrimmage. And the New York Knicks have finally acquired forward Sidney Green from Detroit. The Knicks had signed Green to an offer sheet, which Detroit matched, but now he's been traded to the Knicks for rookie Ron Moore and a second-round draft pick next year. Former Arizona State standout Kurt Nymphius is packing his bags again. Nymphius today traded from Detroit to San Antonio for a second-round pick next year. Nymphius had been a free agent since season's end. And Seattle is down to its 12-man roster for the NBA season. The Sonics today releasing 3 players, guards Terrence Stansberry and Michael Phelps, and forward Scott Wedman. On to hockey, where the Winterhawks' early season troubles are continuing. Tonight, they lose at Spokane 4-2. Canby High School is the place to be for prep football Friday night. Better get there early. 5,000 fans expected as #2 Canby takes on Lake Ridge, the state's #1 team. Phil Cassidy found out today what the Cougars are all about.
They talk about team unity at Canby. The Cougars are a team without stars.
Definitely unity, being together as a team. Always having, say, 11 people on the tackle and everything. And then on the sidelines, our team's always cheering together.
They also talk about the Cougars' defense. It's #1 in the Three Rivers League. This week, it meets the #1 offense.
Our defense is pretty tough. Other teams, we hurt them. We hurt them.
The Cougars aren't very big, but they're intelligent. The overall GPA is 3.4, and that might come in handy Friday night. Against Lake Ridge, Canby will try and penetrate the Pacers with its wing T offense. The Cougars will try to outthink the Pacers' offensive attack as well. Above all, Canby will keep its cool.
You know, it kind of boils down to the old thing. You got to compete with your mind, you know, and with your body, you know, and you have to be under control.
It's a showdown between #1 and #2, a team of unity going against a team of stars.
We're ranked second in the state, but I don't think we've proved that yet. Well, I think Friday night will prove who's #1 in the league, in the state.
In Canby, Phil Cassidy, the 10 o'clock news.
Oregon State's a big underdog Saturday at Washington, but remember, that's Halloween, and the Beavers will be wearing orange and black. And also remember, 2 years ago, the Beavs 36-point underdogs, but beat the Huskies. Levance Northington recovering a blocked punt for a touchdown. Can it happen again?
We're growing. We've been growing every week this year.
And I think we're in a better position this year than we were 2 years ago to win this football game. They're a solid football team, but by no means are they invincible.
Northington and the Beavers 22-point underdogs this year. Auburn is appealing the suspension of quarterback Jeff Berger by the NCAA. Berger and teammate Jim Thompson now ineligible after friends of Thompson's family took them on a hunting trip, which included a free plane trip. That breaks the NCAA's extra benefits rule, so now Auburn is without its top quarterback, the top-ranked passer in the Southeastern Conference. Strange title fight tonight near London, ending the reign of WBC welterweight champ Lloyd Honeyghan. Honeyghan clashed heads with challenger Jorge Vaca of Mexico in the 8th round, opening a cut over Vaca's eye. The bout was stopped. A point was deducted from Honeyghan's card for butting. The cards were then added up, and Vaca was named the winner and the new champion by split decision. Honeyghan had never lost going in. And Thomas Hearns looks to make boxing history tomorrow. He faces Juan Domingo Roldan for the WBC middleweight title. If he wins, he becomes the first fighter to win titles in 4 different weight classes, something that he hopes will improve his place in boxing history.
We all like to reach this stance, get to this point, and unfortunately, there's only been 3 other people who got to this standard and was not able to do it. But I feel very, very confident that I can do it.
Both fighters weighed in at 160 pounds. Meantime, former champ Marvin Hagler is getting a bit uneasy watching 2 guys he beat fighting for the title he thinks is still his, and he says he's willing to fight when one new champion is crowned.
Again, it's kind of tough for me to sit around and watch these, like Bob said, alphabet champions fight for a title that I feel as though that I never lost. But I realized that they wanted me out of the picture.
Hagler says the only fight that really means something to him is a rematch with Sugar Ray Leonard. On to baseball, where the Phillies today named Woody Woodward as their new vice president. He just resigned as Yankees GM last week. So you want to have a victory parade? Well, witness the aftermath of yesterday's in America's newest wasteland, Minnesota, make that Minneapolis, 34 tons of trash left behind from the hundreds of thousands who came out to honor the World Series champions. Might have to cancel my Halloween party. Looking at that.
They need the DEQ's tips on how to grapple with garbage there. Yes, they do.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up, a new IUD is introduced in the marketplace.
And the nation's aviation system will get the money for needed improvements. Those stories in just a moment.
Women shop coast to coast because they trust our products, they trust our ability, and they trust our people.
Save during our pre-holiday sale on this sound design combo. Portable AM/FM stereo with cassette and pocket radio, together only $39.99. Enjoy tasty brewing results with this Mr. Coffee coffee maker. Only $15.99 after $7 mail-in rebate.
America's total hardware stores, coast to coast. Your best choice for low prices
on the best brand
at Fred Meyer's.
Right now, you'll find a low price on Gold Medal flour. Your first 10-pound bag of bleached, unbleached, or better bread flour is just 99 cents with a coupon from our ad. Save on all 5 delicious varieties of Gino's frozen pizza. They're on sale now for 79 cents each. And stock up on refreshing, mighty fine frozen orange juice, while the 12-ounce cans are only 65 cents each. This week at Fred Meyer.
Fred Meyer stores.
Who'd have guessed that daughter of mine would grow up to be such a professional? She just got another promotion last week.
Good for her.
So I got her this today, the Shane Company.
Let's see. Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah. They helped me pick out a great ring in my price range. And the best part is it's lasting quality. She'll enjoy it for years, even when she becomes president of that corporation. Here's to the president.
The Shane Company, direct diamond importers.
Another form of birth control will soon be available to women in this country. Jeannie Most reports on a new and improved IUD.
It may not look like much, but gynecologists are saying welcome back to a device known as the Copper T380A. It's a type of IUD that American pharmaceutical companies stopped supplying almost 2 years ago.
Women literally had to go out of the United States in order to get a copper IUD. Many of them went to Canada to get the very IUD that will now become available in the United States within the first 6 months of 1988.
The announcement came at a New York City press conference. The Copper T had fallen victim to the fear surrounding another type of IUD, the Delcon Shield. The Delcon Shield was blamed for infections, even cases of sterility that prompted lawsuits and forced the A.H. Robbins Company to take it off the market. Concern about similar lawsuits led to the withdrawal of the copper T, even though it is different from the Delcon Shield.
The Delcon Shield had a different kind of a tail on it, the tail being what comes out through the uterus and into the vagina.
That tail allowed bacteria to ascend into the uterus, something that apparently does not happen with the copper T.
I think it's terrific. It's really wonderful to have it back. And clearly it is safe for most women. You have to screen out women who may be at high risk for infection, such as women who have multiple partners, change partners frequently.
The copper T is already FDA approved. Experts say it is almost as effective as the pill for preventing pregnancy. The device is inserted by a doctor and can be left in for as long as 4 years.
No hassle, as they say, to use it.
But the relatively small pharmaceutical company that will make the copper T realizes it will have a public relations battle to fight.
We are concerned that the transference of the thought of the concerns regarding the Delcon Shield would get inappropriately transferred to our copper device.
I think women really need to understand that not every IUD is the Delcon Shield.
Coming soon to a gynecologist near you, the copper T is making a comeback. Jeannie Mo, CNN, New York.
America's overburdened aviation system is getting a boost from the federal government. The Senate has authorized more than $15 billion for improving airline safety and for a number of modernization programs. Linda Tyra reports.
One senator calls it a miracle that over 1 million passengers fly safely almost every day in the United States.
Mr. President, most respectfully, we're in the situation as the economy. I don't know how it's kept up.
And flying today is like playing a roulette wheel, only it's a wheel of misfortune.
So, with an eye on safety and congested skies, the Senate overwhelmingly approved spending $15.6 billion over 3 years to improve and modernize the nation's airports and air traffic system. All money for improvements will come from the trust fund, which routinely collects taxes from airline tickets and aviation fuel. Among the main items, the bill requires hiring 1,000 extra air traffic controllers by September of next year.
It is apparent that our air traffic control system is understaffed. We clearly need additional air traffic controllers.
In response to concerns over near misses and mid-air collisions, the bill also requires the eventual installation of airborne collision avoidance systems in all commercial planes and altitude reporting devices in small planes. The House has passed a similar air traffic and airports bill, but one that authorizes spending for 5 years instead of 3. Efforts to improve the nation's air traffic system have run into little opposition here except over spending levels. As one senator noted, members of Congress are frequent flyers and are as concerned as anyone about air travel. Linda Tyra, CNN, Capitol Hill.
At Courtesy Hyundai, value means everything. If you want economy with bottom-line prices that make sense, then Courtesy is the place with 8 new car models under $7,000. Get economical dependability in the 3-door XL, right now as low as $55.95. Or for family excitement, drive the GL 4-door sedan. Take a test drive and be eligible to win 100 lottery tickets. Courtesy Hyundai has the bottom line that saves you money.
Saving you money.
At Courtesy Hyundai.
Lunch?
I grabbed a pizza.
Lunch?
I grabbed a burger.
The American Dietetic Association says vegetables are an important part of a balanced diet.
Lunch?
I grabbed a hot dog.
No vegetables? Have a V8.
When you can't get to eat vegetables, you can drink them. One delicious glass of V8 juice provides a serving of vegetables.
Thanks for putting me straight, Laura.
Drink V8. Keep your diet straight.
Hurry and get your costume on.
Give your bathroom a new look with Galen. This medicine cabinet with solid oak frame and beveled mirrors is just $144.87 at Builders Square. The matching vanity base has solid oak drawers with ball-bearing glides and hand-rubbed furniture finish. It's
Hey,
only
honey.
$228.
I'm ready. How do I look?
Builders Square. The more we sell, the lower the price. The lower the price, the more we sell.
The Toyota Tag Sale. Now, $88.50 buys an '88 Corolla, 4-door with automatic and power steering at Broadway Toyota.
Finally tonight, flying airplanes is generally thought to be a sport for the young and the brave, not for those getting on in years, and certainly not for folks pushing 80. But a Vancouver couple is the exception to the rule. Sylvia Stinson has their story.
Bob and Dorothy Mercer have been married for over a half-century. She's 77, he's 79, and they're both pilots. It got started innocently enough.
One day, the family was over here at Pearson Airport, and they were getting rides in airplanes, $1 a ride, $5 a ride. So my mother decided that she would like to have an airplane ride, and would I not like to go with her.
For husband Bob, it all began when a buddy flew him over his favorite duck lake.
And I thought that was pretty neat. That was in January of 1946. I started taking lessons within a couple of weeks.
The rest is history. At first, Bob and Dorothy flew to the beach for a picnic, but it wasn't long before they were flying further and further away from home.
We have flown together all the way up to the Arctic Circle in Alaska. We spent some time up in Anchorage, and we have flown down to Mexico a number of times.
But has flying, confined together in a cockpit, meant for the Mercers a marriage made in heaven?
We don't have any particular arguments, maybe a little here, a little there. Who doesn't in the aviation business?
They share cockpit chores, trading off the pilot seat. But when one flies alone, does the other one worry? You bet.
I worry about Dorothy when she goes out in her car, let alone flying.
But that doesn't stop Dorothy, who dons leather helmet and goggles and frequently flies the family toy, a replica World War I German observation plane. When not flying, Bob's a member of Northwest Antique Airplane Club. Dorothy's involved in 99s, women pilots founded by Amelia Earhart. Bob and Dorothy are what aviators call silver eagles, flyers who've logged a lot of hours with the gray hair to prove it.
Does age ever interfere with flying?
No, not so far.
No, it really doesn't. I think you feel just as young as you did when you started flying. It doesn't make any difference. You don't feel decrepit or anything.
If it's the fountain of youth or the makings for a marriage literally made in heaven, it's hard to say. One thing's for sure. They may both be nearly 80, but they're a long way from landing for the last time.
There is an old saying that time flies when you're having fun. But perhaps in the case of Bob and Dorothy Mercer, it's better said that time is fun when you're flying, or that getting old isn't what it used to be. At Evergreen Field in Vancouver, Sylvia Stinson, the 10 o'clock news.
I think that's terrific. I admire them. I'm too chicken to go up at this age.
Imagine that.
All those years.
Yeah, imagine the changes they've seen in aviation in the years they've been flying.
Absolutely.
Well, think about that tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have sweet dreams. See you tomorrow, everybody.
They probably fly without a license and get some.
Oldsmobile, official car of the U.S. track and field team, announces the Cutlass Invitational Trials, presenting the strongest Cutlass team that's ever taken